My personal experience with Latuda, a bipolar medication. Yo, what's going on? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report is coming from MajesticSammie off Reddit. When this happened, early 2018. The drugs used, Lurasidone and unknown. Gender, female, and her age, 19. So while searching for some good Latuda reports, I happened to come across this Latuda withdrawal experience that turned out to be very delirium-like. I didn't want to use this as the introduction for Latuda because this isn't a report of the medication itself, rather how it played a role when this user quit cold turkey, along with their new medication, which is the unknown substance, as they chose not to list it. Now I assume by the title they were prescribed this because of bipolar, which their condition could also have played a role in what they experienced. Either way, what ends up happening is very HPPD-like and is very interesting to see that these conditions cause this. And if we don't know about Lurasidone, we'll break it down some at the end, mostly focusing on the withdrawal of it. So I hope you all enjoy this one. Without further ado, let's dive right into this. Note: scary withdrawals. Do not listen if easily paranoid. Important things I wish I'd done to avoid this situation. Talk to your psychiatrist when you have problems with your medication. Taper off, especially when you're on a high dose. Research the medication you're on, and if possible, before you start taking it. This is basic stuff anyone should know when they start psychiatric treatment. I didn't. Don't make the same mistakes I did, and you should be fine. I haven't taken Latuda in years, so my explicit memories of it are a bit fuzzy, but I do remember a few weeks before spring break of 2018, I think it was in March because my brother's birthday was around that time, I got so frustrated with taking Latuda because every time I took it, I would vomit. The dose was too high for me, and I hadn't been diagnosed with my acid reflux yet, so I gave up on the medication and quit taking it cold turkey from what I remember to be a relatively high dose. Although I don't remember what the exact dose was. I had been told by my psychiatrist that it was the second highest dose anyone was allowed to take safely, and didn't tell my psychiatrist until about a week later. I was 19 and irresponsible, but I'm better about that kind of thing now. He prescribed a new medication, which I'm still taking now. I won't name it. I don't want to sound like I'm promoting anything, and besides, I'm probably going to have to switch again in a few months, because the new medication isn't as effective anymore. I started taking it the night before my family, my mom, my stepdad, my brother, and I left to go to San Diego for spring break. Everything was fine, aside from the mood swings that I would have due to the new medication not having started working yet, until about 2 or 3 days in. Heads up, this isn't meant to sound like a horror story, but it generally felt horrifying at the time. Again, there are a lot of factors adding into this. I quit cold turkey from a high dose, and apparently, Latuda is doubled as a schizophrenia medication, causing the severe, rare withdrawal symptoms to be similar to that of schizophrenia. Again, chances are you won't have the same experience as long as you taper off and keep in touch with your psychiatrist. One night, while we were staying in a small Airbnb, I woke up and saw a figure standing at the foot of my futon I was sleeping on. At first, I thought it was my brother trying to play a prank on me, because he was holding a pillow and grinning. But then something clicked, and I realized that the figure was too tall to be my brother. My next immediate thought, as the figure approached, was that someone had broken in through the window and was trying to suffocate me to death. I screamed for my life, and my stepdad ran out and turned the light on. As soon as the light turned on, the figure seemed to just float into the ceiling and disappear. My mom came out to console me as I couldn't stop crying, and I slept the rest of the night with the light on. The next morning, I did what I should have done beforehand and researched the medication. It wasn't until then that I found out that it was also used as a schizophrenia medication, and that hallucinations were a possible withdrawal symptom. The next few nights went oddly but less terrifying. For example, one night when we were staying at a different Airbnb, I thought I saw a giant bubble float into the room I was staying in with my mom and stepdad. And I told my mom, and she told me to shut up and go back to sleep. Thanks, Mom. She wasn't very supportive after that first incident. In fact, she was more mad at me than anything. My brother still hasn't forgiven me for ruining his birthday trip. None of my family seems to care that I'm still scared of the dark because of that one night. I thought I was fine a few weeks later, but I kept seeing things out of the corner of my eye. Sometimes I would fall asleep and I would hear laughing, or crying, or conversation. It was gibberish that I couldn't make sense of. Or sometimes I would hear a loud explosion or pop that would wake me up. Some nights, when driving home from my boyfriend's house, I would look in the rearview mirror and for a split second see figures in the back seats. Other times, while driving at night, I would think that there were people in the middle of the road, slam on my brakes, only to realize there was no one there. I almost caused accidents a few times, which became an issue eventually because when there were actually people on the road, the calls would be much closer, and needless to say, I never saw the same people jaywalking twice. Eventually, I just started choosing the drive home before sunset to avoid the issue. One night, I was playing board games with my roommates and their friends. I didn't have any IRL friends of my own, and I also have really bad social anxiety. And I thought I saw someone standing in the doorway of the room, but it wasn't even dark. All of the lights were on. I thought it was just one of my roommate's friends, until I did a quick head count and realized there was one too many. As soon as I came to that realization, I nearly had a heart attack, and then the figure disappeared. Apparently I went ghostly pale because everyone noticed. After a few minutes of them prying, I finally told them what had happened. I thought they were going to think I was crazy, but they were actually really supportive, and I thanked them for that. Thankfully, I haven't had any hallucinations since last year, so I think it's safe to say I finally gone past the Latuda withdrawal symptoms, although the paranoia is still there. Moral of the story: talk to your psychiatrist when you have problems with your medication. So here we are back with Lurasidone, which we just covered here a couple days ago. This is a common antipsychotic medication prescribed to those with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Now I recommend jumping into the report we just did a couple days ago, my personal experience with Latuda, as in this video, the report details what a common experience might be, and you can pick up some more general info on the substance. But to keep the details of Lurasidone brief here, its main goal is to help relieve the symptoms of those prior listed conditions. It can help clear up the mind, some might say. In the last report, this seems to be exactly what happens. But it often comes with side effects. Some mentioned here, like the impact on one's appetite. But there's a ton that can potentially happen, depending on the user, but other common side effects can be heavy impact towards sleep, weight gain, metabolic imbalance, impact on heart rate, dizziness, movement disorders, and much more. Like I said, it will vary from person to person, and like in this report, these side effects may be too overbearing, are discomforting for the user, or the substance itself may not even be effective. Now, the way dependence forms and the urge to quit cold turkey is very understandable with Latuda. Often, patients will be put on Latuda very gradually, and a noticeable change isn't even expected until the substance has been taken for a couple weeks or so. And before they know it, a patient may wake up one day in a very discomforting state, physically, mentally, or both. You can end up in a state where shit just feels whack as fuck, to the point where a patient wouldn't even care about withdrawal. Now, withdrawal effects will vary. Latuda will affect dopamine, serotonin, and adrenal receptors, all of which will be out of balance with the discontinuation of the substance. Because of this can lead for a wide variety of withdrawal effects that can happen. Obviously, the higher the dose, the longer it's been taken, the stronger and longer the withdrawal is. And just like how it can take weeks to take effect, the same can be expected of withdrawal. Since you technically were priming those receptors, your brain's still going to expect that activity in a similar manner, causing some to experience withdrawal effects for up to weeks, possibly even longer. Now, looking at today's report, it actually isn't really that common for hallucinations and delusions to be a withdrawal effect of Latuda, but I think the dose could easily be attributed for this though. But here's where I want to bring up stimulant psychosis and how Latuda may have played similarly here. The same is true for schizophrenia. Both are thought to be caused by an excess of dopamine in the brain, and as a result, these can cause voices, hallucinations, or to the point of psychosis. Latuda will antagonize dopamine, so cutting cold turkey likely caused an influx of dopamine at times for this user. But other than the hallucinations, the paranoia, and anxiety mentioned in this report, withdrawal can also include impact on weight. This will impact the appetite. There may be body aching. One may end up seriously depressed or feeling empty. There may be insomnia. Nausea is a very common withdrawal effect. You might just feel sick. You might have a lot of mood swings. You can feel very fatigued. You might end up sweating a lot. There's a lot of things, but there's many factors that are going to impact what could happen on a withdrawal. Cold turkey, though, with this one, is one sure way to experience them strongly. And just living like the way described in this report just sounds like a living nightmare you don't know when is going to pop out. So we're going to end it there today. I hope you enjoyed today's video on Latuda. If you want to see more reports on antipsychotics or any substance at all, let me know in the comments below and we'll do that. Do me a favor, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, follow the socials, share the video. If you have a report, send it in to NoOneSubmitReport@gmail.com. It's been someone that's no one, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.